Hello and welcome to episode 66 of the Football Retro Podcast.
Are you sure it's 66?
100%. I'm your host, Johnny. Today we've got a full live table, full of energy, full of news and information. We've got Fatty, Adasi, and Akram. How you doing, Adasi?
Good, thanks. We're all just recovering, I guess, from all the games that happened over the past few days and digesting it all and looking forward to what's to come.
We waited a couple of days to record to get all the information before we record it tonight. Hack, how you doing?
Yeah, doing all right.
Are you bored?
Right. Sorry?
Are you bored?
This was his snooze time.
No, this was obviously a weekend and in the last 4 or 5 days of, a lot of interest around football, so no, not at all.
As Adasi said, a lot to digest and a lot to regurgitate here on the episode. So
obviously, we've got the spaghetti here. We've got the Peroni here. We've got the Italian references on the table.
Incredible.
So
big results.
Incredible.
Big upsets.
Two times in a row now.
A big hello to all our Italian brothers or cousins in my that I've never met in my
everyone in Leichhardt.
Look, it's a big topic, so I reckon let's just jump straight into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Welcome back. 66 international night, week, month, pretty much, because the World Cup's decided the draw's coming out next week.
Yeah, this couple of days, actually, and Saturday morning our time. That's on SBS.
So there's a few teams that haven't yet qualified. So it's the first time ever, I believe, that the draw happens without all 32 teams qualified.
Yeah, usually everything's done and dusted and they do the draw, but this time there's 3 spots still up for grabs, which will be played in June. So you got the intercontinental playoffs and also the situation with Ukraine, who's still got to play Scotland, and we know that plays Wales.
Unfortunately for Russia, they got kicked out without playing.
Poland got a free pass into that round.
Yeah, and it ended up getting a result actually this morning.
Against Sweden.
Yeah.
To start off with, let's touch on our by default team, which is the Socceroos, the Australian team who did not perform against Japan or Saudis this week. 2 big games, 2 must wins, 2 losses.
Well, yeah, I mean, the game against Japan, the result of that meant the Saudi game was pointless. Mm-hmm. But I think we can all agree that Australian football's in a bit of a decline at the moment with the way that they're going.
Absolutely agree. I think it's not just a decline. It's been coming for a few years, unfortunately, and it's very sad. We've mentioned it here a few times. I had absolutely zero hope of getting a result against Japan at home. The problem was that it had to get to that we needed a result at home. So when you do or die matches against arguably the greatest team, the best team in Asia, you're going to struggle. When you're dropping points against the likes of Oman and China who are in an absolute shambles at the moment. China's not China of 5-6 years ago. Their league is falling apart. There's no more money. Everything's just gone to shit. Their development's just gone backwards. COVID's obviously they've had a big hit with COVID on the national team in terms of their structure and how the national team actually performs. So for us to drop those points against Oman, against China, to be leading against Saudi Arabia and then drop points, we can't see our games. It's disgusting. It's absolutely pathetic. It's a reflection of football in this country and the state that it's in. It's not just on Graham Arnold. A lot of people giving him shit. Don't get me wrong. I hate Graham Arnold myself. I think he's a fucking terrible coach.
Even if he comes to the Wanderers and wins the league?
Rubbish. Don't care what he does. He's fucking shit. My opinion of him doesn't change. But I think it's unfair that the blame is squarely and solely placed at his feet. It's generally the case that the manager or the coach is always a scapegoat. There are bigger issues in Australian football. Graham Arnold is just the face of it. You could see how uncomfortable he was even when he faced the presser after that Japan game. It's just an absolute shambles. The FFA is hiding behind, players, behind COVID, behind scheduling, behind whatever fucking reason it is. And it's just an absolute mess. It's disappointing to see. And it's frankly very sad. It's very, very sad.
What do you take of Fornaroli making his debut for Australia?
Very muted debut. I think he was very, very late. From my understanding that he was eligible maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know why he wasn't called to the national team earlier. He's 34. He's not really going to offer much. Yes, he's a great player. He was a great player in the A-League, good striker. Can he do it? Okay. Possibly against some Asian teams, but I don't think on the biggest stage. I think he's past it now, unfortunately. Too little, too late for us.
I was a little disappointed. I'm not much of a Twitter guy, but I've heard there were, maybe you've seen some of this, a lot of Twitter talk going against the Fornaroli call-up because he's not Australian, he's Uruguayan. And there's sort of borderline racist remarks. Because the same people never said a word about people like Harry Suter or this other person who's Martin Boyle, who never stepped foot in Australia before the call-up just because mum or dad were born here, had never visited Australia, and yet because they had an English name, because they spoke better English, there was no issues. When Fornaroli got a call-up, he's been living here for 3, 4, 5 years now. There was all these issues about, is he really Australian? So why the double standards?
Look, it's sad to see, but look, I think it's not so much we should have a go that he's not Australian. I think we can't really rely like on a 34-year-old player like to be put in the deep end like that to save us, save our qualifying campaign. I mean, the problems go way back further than that.
I think that's a reflection of as well of
we're desperate.
the mentality here of and the culture. You know, when Johnny Lawrence, you know, said that they're referred to as wogs, and you know, it's not the Australian game and all that sort of jazz. There's still elements of that, unfortunately, especially when it comes to the national team, because there's a lot of people or fans of the national team that aren't A-League fans. So they wouldn't know who Fornaroli is, or they'd think, oh, whatever.
Because they'll probably just jump on the bandwagon.
Why is this guy? Yeah, there's a lot of people that will just support national team, which is fair enough. I get that. They don't support the local league. Fine.
So they will support Socceroos and Man City.
So it's easy for them to come and say, oh, who the fuck's this Fornaroli? Why don't you give a spot to an Australian player? What they don't realise is that a lot of the Australian players, the youth development in this country is struggling and lacking desperately. Absolutely lacking desperately. Our system here's got to shit. We haven't produced anything since the likes of the 06, 2010 squads. Probably the last of it, we had flashes of it at 2014. You know, when your Wilkshires and all them were finishing off their careers, and Cahill and whatnot, but that was about it. After that, really nothing. No one really steps up. I don't know who's the leader on the field. I don't know
apart from that, what you're saying is not opinion. It's facts, because if you look at the big leagues in Europe, you don't see many Socceroos or many...
Not like it was years ago, no way.
I'm sure a large percentage of the people that watch the games, the Socceroos games in the last couple of months, had to Google once or twice who the players coming on were, who they're playing for. It's not the same that we always talk about the golden generation. Without comparing a whole team of superstars, like that sort of was, you want a handful of people in the Premier League, in the Bundesliga, in Serie A, in La Liga. It's not happening now. The closest thing you've got is Matt Ryan sitting on the bench for Sociedad.
Yeah, exactly. Sitting on the bench.
We peaked at 2015 with the Asian Cup win, right? And that squad. And then that was it. It went down. There was no... The FFA did not capitalise on that. They didn't capitalise on the development, on drawing such attention, hosting the Asian Cup in our own backyard and winning it. Football needed to absolutely explode after that. You know, people signing up, people having interest in football, pushing the league further on, blah, blah, blah. And at the time, the A-League was very strong. You're talking about the first 3 years of the Wanderers' existence coinciding with the Socceroos winning the Asian Cup on home soil. That is an absolute perfect recipe for football in this country to flourish.
Yeah, you know what?
They couldn't capitalize.
I feel like we can dedicate a whole episode on what went wrong, and we've touched on this before, but I think we may need a special guest to cover these points.
Yeah.
Jumping to the next game. Sorry, UAE versus Socceroos. Who are you putting your money on? If you were a betting man, I know you asked me for a Peroni today, so I brought it back. But if you were a betting man, who would you put your money on?
Look, UAE, to be honest, they're pretty average. As much all the money that they have, the billions of dollars that they have in the country, and that they invest in coaches and that, they're a pretty average team. I think Australia will get through.
So is Oman, and we couldn't beat them.
But as well, as we go think that this is a one-off game in Qatar in June, where the weather's going to be really hot. Even though it's a play at night time, it gets really hot there. It's stinking hot. So it's going to be tough.
I think the most
important...
Yes.
Well, I've just been waiting. You've been monologuing the whole time, man. So I wanted to give you your space. You said you came in with plenty of material for once.
I had to cover for you because you didn't know what the fuck Socceroos were.
Oh, with the Socceroos playing. Oh.
Who are they? What? Who? What's Green
Socceroos?
Socceroos.
What an ad campaign that was.
No. That's like what I was gonna say though is I think this last couple of games though, from a morale point of view and from an optics for the players, it's taken a big hit. And when you do have to reduce to one game, like you said against UAE are very average, or whichever descriptor you want to give them. I really don't have much faith in a Socceroos right now.
That's the thing. It wouldn't surprise me if Australia don't get through. It wouldn't. I don't know.
You mentioned an important thing there. The heads are down and the morale, because a lot of
don't say nothing the whole time and then I put something important.
Australian players have come out now after that game and they're all saying, we got to fight, we got to be together and all this. So they're clearly feeling the pressure of the wider community.
Yeah,
but the UAE players would have none of that pressure. They'd be like, you know what, these guys are ripe for the picking.
Almost a home game for them as well.
We can fucking go for it. We can go for it. The pressure's all on Australia. It's ours to lose.
And it's like you said, Fatty, like the press briefings afterwards with Graham Arnold. Doesn't look like a coach that really wants to.
Would you get rid of him now? Would you?
It doesn't make a difference.
No,
it makes no difference.
If whoever comes in has no games to prepare,
it's gonna just ruin the team vibe even more.
It makes it even worse.
Let him fail.
It's gonna make it worse. Personally, on paper, we should canter through that game. We've always been a physical team. We're the biggest, strongest team in Asia. Physically, we outmuscle and bully teams. We haven't been doing that. We don't have the personnel to do that. We used to push players around. You had Jedinak in the middle. You had what's the fucking name of the
personnel or approach? Because we've gone into this mentality of trying to play pretty football when the Aussie way, we're not playing to our strengths.
It could be that. It could be that. I mean, I can't judge the players individually whether they have that strength or not. The coaching staff should know that. Maybe it's the playing style. It doesn't suit us, but we're never the most technical team against any team that we come up against. All these Gulf teams, the Saudis, the Qataris and all that, they're not physical and they're all small players. So they rely a lot on technical ability. And technically, they're very good.
So what's it?
Very good. But we're going to be stronger. I think we will just scrape it, but it'll be a very, very close. It'll be a scare. Like we're going out and then we're going to miraculously maybe pull something.
Look, I think regardless of whether they win or lose, the circumstances surrounding this and the vibe in the media, the vibe in the players, and is this going to be? I don't think so myself, but do you guys think it's a wake up call to the FA?
No. They'll point of going by history and pattern.
Yeah.
They'll point the finger somewhere else. They'll blame COVID. They'll blame something else.
Unfortunately, that UAE game, even if you get past UAE, it makes no difference because we're going to play a fifth place South American team, which currently, as it stands, we are nowhere near that level.
It's finished.
We are nowhere near that level. But we could play the last place South American team, and we would not win.
Peru will be tough.
So basically, regardless of what happens,
we're not going through to the World Cup.
And regardless of, let's just, for the sake of argument, like the point is, regardless of whatever happens, we're safe in the knowledge that nothing's going to change, nothing's going to progress.
I would prefer for Australia to lose to the UAE
and to get some kind of wake-up call,
to make it more of a thing, because we're not going to make it to the World Cup anyway. So you might as well use this scenario to our advantage, where to say, you know what, this is how fucked we are.
Have an investigation inquiry into this,
which is not going to happen because they're just going to.
It's
going to be quietly.
We have to look into.
Graham Arnold's going to get the tap on the
shoulder,
bottom up, and he'll say,
"From the grassroots all the way to the top." You have to.
It's not going to happen, bro. It's an absolute farce. The FFA is fucked, and they're all fucking idiots. That's it.
That should be the title of the episode. FFA are fucked, and they're all fucking idiots.
That's it.
Fatty Bushara.
FFS.
All right, so everyone agrees the Socceroos will at least get through this round. Maybe not comfortably, but they'll get through in the first South American fifth. And then obviously Africans as well, the playoffs, big games this morning, recording time. A few big plays missing out on the World Cup. Cameroon with a late, crazy game. So just to clarify, is the away goal rule still in place in Africa?
Yes, applies in Africa, which is stupid because
just like everything else left behind.
But why? If you're going to change,
only Europe have changed it.
Yeah, but if you're going to change that rule somewhere, surely it's an international approach.
Yeah,
like surely it's a rule that you will change across the board. But how does that work?
But it's that's UEFA's decision to scrap the away goals.
It doesn't matter, but you're qualifying for the World Cup. So FIFA should say,
but it's not FIFA, it's UEFA.
It's UEFA.
Doesn't matter, but it's to play in that competition.
You should be all the same under the same rules.
Ideally, yes.
If I'm qualifying for a tournament. The tournament sets the rules.
Sorry. UEFA in terms of the European competition.
No, UEFA, Champions League, they scrapped away.
No, not
League.
FIFA.
But in terms of international, it's still
So qualifiers is no away.
I think still away goals for qualifiers. Europe, everywhere.
Even in Europe?
I think so.
Well, because FIFA wouldn't they?
But no, Europe had one-off games anyway, so they didn't
that's
wouldn't have known.
Fair enough. So let's start off with Algeria.
Yeah. Algeria winning the first leg away 1-0. Think coming back home, they'd have the advantage.
To Cameroon.
Yeah, and then
That was a big away win as well.
Cameroon win after 90 minutes, 1-0 in Algeria, and then extra time. Algeria scored in the 118th minute. You think, well, they've got it. They got it done. And then 124th minute, Cameroon steal it right at the death. Crazy finish. So Riyad Mahrez and a couple other Algerian players will miss out.
Yeah.
Mahrez.
Khalid Boularus, was it?
He was a Dutch, Moroccan.
A big loss for Argentina. Nigeria didn't make it.
I know, we're not going to get our usual group stage match, man. Your usual Argentina-Nigeria clash.
We're talking today 94, 02, 2010, 14 and 18.
Yeah, and throw in a couple of Olympic gold medal matches with 96 and 08.
Yeah, I saw that Algeria goal. It was ridiculous. It was a classic case of scoring and then just thinking, "Yep, I'm done."
Yeah,
and just completely switching.
It was that defending, wasn't it, in the last second?
Yeah, they just switched off.
It was crazy. But you're 4 minutes into added time in extra time.
Yeah. You know, he's the coach for Cameroon, Rigobert Song. Remember him?
Yeah, Rigobert Song.
The defender back in he's uncle of Alex Song.
That's right.
Congo didn't go through.
No, they lost 4-1 away to Morocco. I think I was expecting Morocco heavy favourites.
Congo's coach Hector Cooper.
He's travelling everywhere, man. I think Antarctica is the only one that's left he hasn't coached. Honestly, I looked at his CV. He's been here, been there.
He actually got a phone call from Penguin after the game, so keep your eyes peeled.
Hector Cooper.
So Morocco.
The other one was Tunisia.
And by the way, with Morocco, Hakim Ziyech just retired from the national team. He had a fallout with the coach or with the federation there, so he see him he was in Miami watching the Heat game the other day, so he's not part of the squad.
Wow.
Do you know why? Do you have any...
just some dispute with the board, with the coach, or something happened that there was accusations that he wasn't trying hard enough or something like that, and he said, "Like, I'm leaving. I'm focusing on Chelsea." So.
So Nigeria, sorry, we touched on Nigeria, but we didn't mention that Ghana went through, which is another big African team.
Yeah, look, I'm one of those countries that unfortunately missed out, and in this case it was Nigeria. I saw Thomas Partey scoring that goal from long range.
Yeah.
Speculative shot which went through. And Ghana's back. They missed out 2018, and they're back in the big stage.
Yeah, a couple of big teams that obviously eliminated each other. You know, you had Algeria, Cameroon.
Yeah.
Two teams that are the bigger teams in Africa.
Yeah.
And Nigeria and Ghana. Obviously, one of them had to miss out.
Yeah.
The biggest game again was obviously the repeat of the African Cup of Nations final in February, which was Senegal and Egypt. I genuinely believed that Egypt would go through and sort of avenge that
it was
AFCON loss. They won the first leg 1-0. Second leg now in Senegal, they were down 1-0 very early on goal. I think second or third minute, something like that. And then it was a case of it was just one of those very cagey games. Egypt sort of grew into the game, but then went to penalties, and then once it's a penalties, anything can happen.
And we
saw the farce that occurred.
First 4 penalties were missed.
Farcical scenes, yeah. Farcical scenes.
It's funny though, because we had a conversation about that in a previous episode about stepping up
after
early.
the AFCON game final.
They heard that I was what I was saying.
And we've made a clip out of it on Instagram and YouTube and stuff about. So Salah must have heard he got some stepping up. Yeah, two of those boys were wrong.
And he blazed it over the bar.
It was Mr. What's his name? Fucking Portuguese coach.
Queiroz.
Yeah, Carlos Queiroz. He heard the podcast and my suggestion that your star player needs to step up and go first.
And he blazed it over the bar.
And Mr. Salah stepped up.
Man, those lasers, I don't know if you watch the game, those lasers
and
pretty bad. But I think Egyptian fans were doing to the Senegalese players in the first leg, so I reckon it was kind of revenge.
Like a disco. Salah was like a disco.
It was annoying. It was like right in his eyes. Even the goalkeeper, it was crazy.
Yeah.
And Sadio Mane again, the hero. So I think Salah's worst nightmare is his own teammate.
Let me ask
poetic justice.
Let me ask you guys this: out of the teams that qualified from Africa, who do you think will perform the best in the World Cup?
Oh, Senegal, I think.
Same. I agree.
There you
I
go.
agree. The Senegalese very
come back off the championship win, the African Cup.
Yeah, they're going to be on a high. I think between Senegal and Ghana, you'll get two decent performances.
Morocco's not bad as well when they They got some good technical players.
Cameroon's not the Cameroon that it used to be in the early 2000s, I think. So I don't know how they will fare. It depends. Again, it depends on who they get drawn with. They could get, if someone gets a lucky group and they could go through to the round of 16.
The other game was Tunisia going through against Mali. It was 1-0. They won the first leg, which was a terrible own goal. The back pass went past the keeper and it went in full guy. And then 0 all the second
Why are you
leg.
laughing? It's full guy.
Full guy.
You know what? You know what we've realised in the last 10 or so episodes? There's an evil side to it, though.
Yeah.
There's definitely an evil
very
side.
subtle.
I didn't say I did like the villains in wrestling and the villains in movies and that stuff. That's probably why.
Speaking of, you said about Scott Hall as well.
Yeah. No, you remember those days of WCW days?
I remember him before. I remember before that when he was Razor Ramon.
NWO.
Okay. Mali obviously expected to lose that one. So no major surprises in regards to the African.
No, the big one would have been Egypt, Senegal. Obviously, everyone spoke about it, and
but there was no surprise regardless who went.
And out of Ghana, Nigeria, one of them unfortunately had to not be there.
Yeah.
So
big scenes in Nigeria at the stadium after.
Yeah, they were throwing bottles or something.
Everyone invaded and started ripping everything.
But that happened
out.
in the Egypt game as well. So now apparently the Senegalese fans obviously invaded the pitch when they qualified, and a few of them started trying to rush to Mo Salah. So then they had security trying to take.
I saw that they were
and then
pulling away.
Started throwing things at him, and I don't know, it went crazy, and people are going off saying
that could be his retirement call.
How disgusting!
Really? Could be. I mean, he's 31 now, so next World Cup he's 35.
They'll keep him on unless he quits for personal reasons, but they'll never. So,
yeah, he's 35 still.
I don't know.
Unless he's still trying for 16 World Cups.
He won't win it. Anyway, it's a different topic. Speaking
We're
of,
coming to that. Yeah.
Speaking of, let's get to South America. So obviously this weekend we had Uruguay and Ecuador confirm the place in the World Cup in Qatar. Early in the first game, and this morning it was a matter of who's going to be that fifth spot qualifying. It was between Chile, who had very small chances, and Colombia and Peru fighting for that spot. Both teams, Colombia and Peru, both winning the games. Chile losing to Uruguay. It's pretty funny.
Shout out to our Chilean mates, Miguel.
Migs especially. What do we think of the 4.5 teams that qualify from South America? So we got Brazil, who were favourites, step above everyone, undefeated, I believe, throughout the qualifiers. Not only undefeated, but won comfortably most games by 4 or 5 goals.
Yeah.
Then you got Argentina, who for the first time in a long time qualified with a few games in hand, so comfortably. Yep. And Uruguay and Ecuador living a bit later on. But you got teams like Colombia missing out, which is a big thing.
I've got to say, for me, the surprise was Ecuador. I was surprised that Ecuador qualified. I was equally as surprised that Colombia missed out. I thought that was a big loss. Peru finishing that 5th spot was enormous. Uruguay not having to finish in the 5th spot was big for them. And not having to go through that, so they go direct
no more playoffs.
Direct spot into the World Cup. The top 4 don't surprise me aside from Ecuador. So the top 3, I should say. They don't surprise me. Ecuador for Colombia would have made more sense to me. Chile for Peru, I would have said if Chile finished 5th or something like that, or Ecuador, or finish 5th, maybe it would have made more sense. But it was a little surprising that last spot there. I don't know. I'm surprised at Peru, but they are a good team.
Yeah, they've been progressing pretty well.
And I think that we said we're likely, we're tipping Australia eventually. We won't get past Peru. There's no chance in hell.
Peru finalists in the 2019 Copa America. They finished 2nd and 3rd. The other ones, they made it to the World Cup after 36 years. Last World Cup.
Played all right in the World Cup.
They got a good coach. They were coming second last, I believe, in October, and they've won 4 games, drawn 1 and lost 1 in the last 6 games, and just stepped up and snuck into 5th.
Yeah, they're a decent side. If Australia gets through them, tough amount on the climb.
Yeah. Like I agree with Fatty. I don't believe Australia's getting past Peru, but I think what's very interesting about that is I think whoever gets Peru in this World Cup, because assuming that they do beat Australia, I think it will be, not exactly a foregone conclusion that you'll beat Peru. I think they're going to be a tough out. They're showing quite a lot of heart and effort, especially in the 2018 World Cup. I was quite impressed with their run in the group stage.
Yeah, I recall that.
They did play Australia, didn't they?
Yeah, they beat us.
Everyone.
They did. They're not a super. They're not a team of superstars.
No.
But
No.
they work very, very hard.
They're all organised.
Yeah. They work very hard.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see how Uruguay's going to go. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure you guys probably know what's the status for Cavani and Suarez. I mean, they're 4 years older. They're retired from international football.
None of the playing. Cavani's
Cavani
coming off the bench a fair bit. The big move for Uruguay was getting rid of the coach after, I think, since 07 they had Tavares as the coach.
That guy's become a fossil, I think.
They sacked him just before the last round, and they've won the last 4 games and snuck in.
Yeah. So we're really interested.
That change maybe needed to happen.
Change was justified.
I was always a big fan of their midfield, but once again, this is like looking at from 2018. Now we're almost 4 years later. Can't believe it's.
To be fair, Uruguay on paper have a very strong team.
They do,
but they were not performing the Copa America and the qualifiers. They were losing games. They lacked attitude, lacked a lot of things. I watched both games obviously against Argentina, and I was very surprised because it's not the same Uruguay that you'll see in previous years with the fight and the. Against Brazil, they were losing 3-4-0 and the heads were down. There was no fight in them. But it seems like the last couple of games they stepped up and rightly so made it into the World Cup.
It is going to be really interesting with them because I was always high on their centre mids. I always liked Torreira and Bentancur. Bentancur isn't doing very well at Juventus, I don't think.
He's gone to England.
Yeah, he's on his way out, right? Yeah, so and then
is he Villarreal or England?
I think it was in Italy.
He left Juventus.
He didn't leave Juventus yet already. Either way, judging by their performance in 2018, I always thought that their future was looking pretty bright. They had really young players in that midfield. Jimenez was always a great centre back for them as leading forward. A lot of leadership.
He's at Tottenham.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was in January.
They have Valverde as well. He's in the midfield.
Yeah, and you got Valverde from Real Madrid, of course.
And to be fair, Chile missing out on 2 World Cups, consecutive World Cups after winning the Copa Americas. That's a bit of a surprise.
He wants to stick the boot in. That's not a surprise. They've been terrible.
When you continental champions 2 years in a row.
I think that's part. But we're seeing that now more frequently. It's funny, and we're always saying, "Oh my God, you're the continental champion, and you're not qualifying." It's happening more frequently. Is it the added pressure that the teams are not dealing with?
So what are you referring to?
We're the champions and we can't sort of qualify.
Are you referring to a team apart from Chile somewhere in particular that you want to lead into?
This guy's so sensitive, no? You can't fucking say anything.
No, I'm leading into the European playoffs.
We will get to the European
segue.
I'm very interested to see how Brazil perform at the World Cup.
Why is that exactly?
Because I feel like they do really well in their qualifiers, and they absolutely smash it. When it comes to the world stage, for some reason, they struggle against the European
underperform,
team. Yeah, they underperform massively. On paper, that is a superstar squad.
I can't see them losing.
Really?
Their attack is pretty.
I mean, look, on the day anything can happen.
Yeah, stacked with quality.
So what are you tipping?
We saw that
at least.
We saw that 100%. We saw that in the final in Brazil.
He said 100%. Brazil to the semis.
Unless they verse England or Germany in the quarters, I don't know.
Nah, unless they play one of 6 teams that you're going to lose.
But they'll be top 4 favourites to win the World Cup.
Yeah, they'll be up there. And I think their attack is stacked with talent at the moment.
Except Neymar.
Oh, he's still around.
No, fuck that guy.
He's still around.
But it's not only who's playing; it's how they're playing.
I think they're very solid at the back as well in midfield.
But it's like Buddy said, they've performed well in the qualifiers. But when it comes to the actual tournament themselves, sometimes you do see a different Brazil side, and it seems like it's the same story every year since about 2002. Really, that every year, every World Cup go loaded with talent, stacked with talent.
But I think it's a pressure as well. And they say, "Oh, Brazil's favourites," and then all of a sudden they flop.
Yeah.
They get slapped by Germany.
I guess how they handle that pressure.
The Brazilian team right now, there's not too many leaders in that team that you would really ground. And
heroic.
Casemiro.
Heroic leader.
Marquinhos.
Yeah, really, Marquinhos is the only one, really. And I don't know how much he's known for his leadership.
I can't believe Dani Alves is called up again after he's like 40 and
did he play or
he was called up last?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's what they're giving him. Leadership.
They're giving him that leadership experience role, nothing else.
Yeah, but they got some good quality, I think. So we'll see.
Time will tell.
Yeah, and obviously Argentina
no one cares.
doing really well.
What are they going to do at the World Cup?
Group stage.
Come on.
Depends who they draw in the group stage, right?
Portugal, Germany, and
I think they're seeded, so they.
Yeah, but Germany's not. Germany's in the second group.
Oh wow!
Really?
Well,
No, you're getting Germany or fucked.
Everyone wants Group A, but anyway, we'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about the draw maybe another day because it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds detailed.
Europe. The European playoffs obviously happening.
Crazy.
Last few spots being secured the last few days. The big news obviously is Italy losing on Friday morning, was it?
Yeah, Friday morning. I checked my phone, refreshed. You guys were messaging. I'm like, is that for real? I checked live score. I'm like, wow, that actually did happen.
I was watching it at work, and it was unbelievable. It was absolutely unbelievable. No one, I think, tipped for that to happen. Obviously, Italy, reigning European champions, that great run in the Euros, very consistent, very solid, and against some minnows. So we spoke about this. We spoke about them having to verse Portugal and one of them missing out. It was such a shoo-in. We were like, oh yeah, Italy, Portugal, one of the big teams is going to miss out. I wonder how the game's going to be when they play each other. We didn't even consider that they could go out to either North Macedonia or Turkey.
To be fair, if anything, we thought Turkey would maybe do an upset against Portugal because they've been performing well. Everyone just thought Italy, European champions, will walk through Macedonia, wait in the final, and it was a big surprise.
On the Massos. Speaking of Macedonia, shout out to Pete Palashowski, a hardcore, very proud Macedonian, very dear friend of mine who was over the moon on that Friday morning
for 3 days.
For 3 days, and made sure that we got on a video call with one of our other Italian mates, Joseph, and ensured that he gave him enough shit that the guy went missing for 3 days.
But then, even if they didn't make the World Cup, losing to Portugal, people are going to still talk about this. You know, they knocked off the European champion, knocked off a powerhouse in Italy. Like that's still some.
But they didn't qualify.
They didn't qualify. I know, but they didn't qualify. But they still
excited.
They felt like they qualified. You know,
They
it was such a big.
too hard.
So 5 minutes of fame for sorry, North Macedonia.
Yeah.
Greece or whatever. They got too excited. They celebrated too hard. They started having rakia and fucking ouzo and started smashing plates and shit. Got excited. And then forgot that they had a fucking game still to play against Portugal.
Well, speaking of loss, Bonucci came out saying that the qualifying is unfair. How Ecuador and Uruguay lose 5 or 6 games, and these guys lose 1 game, and we miss out. What do you think?
Is that what Bonucci said?
Something like that. Yeah.
Wow. You go first, Dak. I got something to say about that.
Look, I don't know what to say about that. But from Bonucci, I think that's just sour grapes. I think he's just pissed off in the moment. I don't think the next day or maybe a couple days after that,
couple of months, couple of years, maybe
he might realize that's a little unfair. I think that's a bit silly because they had it within themselves and they had all the control to progress. We've talked about this before, and we talked about it on the day of. It shouldn't have got to this point.
Yeah,
we're against North Macedonia to succeed. You are the European champions.
In a one-off game,
their talent, at
home too.
And that's the thing about football and most sports is that you pull it down to one game, anything can happen. The whole point of the big teams and the championship quality teams is that you're not supposed to let it get to that point where anything can happen in one game.
Yeah.
And Italy has had numerous draws in the last 6 months with their qualifiers, and they've just let the games whittle away, kind of procrastinating almost, and they've unfortunately just get knocked out because it is what it is. North Macedonia, parked the bus. They, got lucky, played part.
I looked at the stats and I think it was 35-4 shots.
Yeah.
Something ridiculous like that. How old's Bonucci, by the way?
34?
Mid-30s, yeah.
That's probably why he was angry, because he probably thinks they're not going to make another World Cup.
Well, yeah.
But this is two
World Cup.
But this is 2 World Cups in a row now they missed out. So, it's...
that's the thing, is like the 2 World Cups in a row. But then at the same time, with a European Championship squeezed in, can I ask, before we, change the topics and before Johnny, has his little spat, does this change your opinion on the European Championships? Are they as competitive as that we've always thought?
Yes. Because it doesn't change my opinion, because you're kind of contradicting yourself a little bit, because you said it comes down to one game and anything can happen.
Yeah.
So that in itself is a justification for what's occurred here.
True, but it's like they let it get to this one game. Why wasn't
that's complacency? That doesn't come down to the strength of the European.
Jorginho's missed penalties, don't forget. That's all. in the group stage.
That Switzerland game. That's Switzerland game that they.
He scores that, they're in. They wouldn't be here in this situation.
So then, do you put this loss down and the fact that they haven't qualified? Do you put it down to complacency?
I believe
they won the European Championship. They're a bit high on after that.
It's a bit of cockiness, from Italians especially. They're generally very cocky people and they're very proud. They're a proud nation. So they would have thought we're European champions and we'll fucking steamroll these.
The reason why I bring it up, Fatty, is because, like Adas said, this is the second World Cup in a row that they haven't qualified for. And I think, like, I look at the European Championship win and think that, like, it really papered over a lot of cracks. Because you had Bonucci and Chiellini in their mid-30s play out of their mind. I don't think anyone's expected them to play as well as they did. Chiellini wasn't playing against North Macedonia. Bonucci never plays as well as when he's next to Chiellini. And they, like I said on Friday, they lack a number 9. They lack a striker. Fatty, it's funny because Fatty, you respond to going, Macedonia lack everything, and they still won. So what's the excuse?
Which is a fair point.
They lacked everything, and then they had a Chevsky or whatever the fuck.
Tchaikovsky.
Some ski guy.
Some ski.
Fucking bomb of a shot. Beautiful fucking.
He used to play in Serie A too, I think, for Palermo. I think.
So they should have known better to get away with that shot.
Can someone please tell Bonucci that they drew against Northern Ireland in the qualifiers? That's versus Lithuania. They drew twice against Switzerland. If they won one of the best games, they would have qualified.
It to me, I'm not going to tell Bonucci, mate.
You're the Italian resident here.
You're the Serie A resident here. So can you, before he complains and talks about in South America, because there's no European team. You have to play Bolivia away in the altitude, Ecuador away in the altitude. These games are not easy. And the fact that your South American qualifiers are 18 games, it's home and away against important teams like Colombia and Chile missed out. And the away games in South America are not easy by any. Even Venezuela finished last in the qualifiers. Politically, the environment, they're not easy away games. It's not San Marino when you go to the fucking beach and you play and you win 11-0.
Cristiano Ronaldo becomes the highest goal scorer.
And the travel as well. Longer travel distance from
European, because you talk about South American teams, they're all European players. And that's part of the problem because they want to change the qualifying for South America and make it more often or something. And the players are complaining, saying we have to come from Europe, and the travel is killing us as it is. European players are just in the front door there. So tell Bonucci that before he cries about other things, to some reflection. Because like you said, it's second World Cup in a row for the Italians. Look, I wanted Italy to go through.
No.
I wanted Italy to beat Macedonia, and I wanted it to beat Portugal. No. I thought it'd be more competitive from a World Cup point of view to have the European champions there. And I didn't want Cristiano to go through. A different story. I would love to see him cry. But there's no excuse as to why they didn't qualify. You just mentioned Jorginho missing the penalty. I think the Italians need to do a bit more reflection on what they did wrong and what they could improve on. Yeah. Because even at the Euro, and you were talking about it all throughout the Euro in the episodes, they weren't great performances. They were winning.
No, they were winning.
You've been saying they're lacking a striker for a long time.
100%.
And what we saw at the Macedonia game was them having possession of the ball, having chances, but not dangerous where you think, fuck, what a miss. 3 or 4 times. In a game like that, you expect them to, because Macedonia, with all respect, they're way below what Italy should be.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I mean, to be honest, I'm not suggesting that I or anyone else predicted this, but you could see that this journey in the qualifiers was not going the way anyone expected when, like I said, Italy's lacking a good goal scorer. Their best scorer, their best attacker in Chiesa gets taken out about 3 or 4 months ago. Is out for the season. We knew he was going to miss these games. They had no options. And I'm sorry, Ciro Immobile, he needs to retire from the Italian national team. It's just not working.
He was having a terrible game.
Well, and he did throughout most of Euro too. Like he's not, for whatever reason, he doesn't show up for Italy. Shows up for Lazio, but not for Italy. So
who's the best number 9 at the moment for Italy?
Well, honestly, right now, like the two that's been playing, obviously, was Immobile and Belotti. Neither have done really well. So it's kind of like pick your poisons. They got a couple of nice young players coming up, but who knows?
Okay. So nobody. Really?
Yeah, pretty much nobody. You got a couple of players from Sassuolo who look really good, but honestly, your best goal scorer right now is Chiesa.
Are you a Sassuolo fan? You keep bringing him up. I had undercover Sassuolo fan.
I remember the word. I'm going to trawl through some footage and find that that's true. I'm happy that Italy didn't go through.
Of course you are. You like to see people suffer.
I'm still avenging that 2006 robbery
Fair enough.
At the
Yeah,
2006
it's
World
just-
Cup against Australia.
It's
It
been
wasn't a
complete,
It
robbery.
was a theft, Johnny. It was a theft.
You've heard Ante
just
Kovic.
been
He was
complete
like,
completely
No.
downhill since then. Look at it. You know the records.
That's right. Tell us the record, Darcy.
2 group
Since
stage
2006.
exits and 2 failed qualifiers.
yeah.
So suck shit. You
So I think they're the first major nation, I think, since France that failed to make back-to-back World Cups. France failed in 1990 and 94.
wow.
So-
And then 198.
But then,
Yeah.
but then
So
1994.
does that mean they're going to win in 2026?
In America?
now?
France,
I'm going to
France
that one.
weren't really.
Yeah.
France were. I don't know if France were really considered the European powerhouse in 1994. They were up there, but they wouldn't.
No,
have been-
he's right. Like that is true.
Well, stop. Did you hear that?
I don't know. I was trying to wait. I was waiting for a slap after or
Did,
something.
did,
They
you,
were-
did you hear that?
they
He, point-
blew
he
it.
pointed at you and he said,
The thing
"He's
is,
right."
they blew it in the last qualifying game against Bulgaria. They just needed a draw and they lost that game. David Ginola became public enemy
France
number
didn't
1.
become the France profile till after 98.
Well, yeah, but they're still strong. Like,
Yeah, they were because of the 80s and such. But like,
Yeah.
I think the point is they weren't like what Italy
yeah,
has
no,
become.
not really. Yeah.
But regardless, so you got 2 Miss World Cups. It's obviously going to be a real shock to a lot of the Italian football and national team and the FA, etc. What do they do differently from
I'm
here
so-
on now? Moving
I
on.
don't look. That's a question you can answer, or you can. I'm just surprised that Mancini hasn't been shown at
He's
all.
staying.
I'm
I
surprised.
said,
I'm so
I said it
surprised.
to you
I
guys on
still
Friday.
think he can ride the ship, I reckon.
The mate, like number one, they play an attractive style of football, so it gets the fans really into it. And number two, in terms of a pedigree, who would you replace him with right now? That's
tell me.
that's an
But hang
option.
on, you said he plays an attractive style of football. Tell me, for an Italian fan,
Yeah.
an Italian,
Yeah,
people
Italian. Yeah,
who are very, very, very proud of their football and very into things. Do you think they'd be saying, "It's all right, Mancini plays nice"?
no,
football"?
not at all. But at the same time, it's one of those things where they really enjoyed the football that they were
But
watching last
I
year.
think
It creates a lot of good vibe.
Yeah, but do you think he's got a bit of leeway now because he won the Euro?
Well, yeah,
Yeah, of
I
course.
think
A
it
little
certainly
grace
should,
period.
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think what Akram might be trying to say is the Italian identifies with their own team. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, and what I'm also thinking about is from a pedigree standpoint, who would you replace him with right now? I think that he's still pretty much the best candidate.
But that's if I want change, that's secondary. If I want things to change, that's like you get ready to coach and say, okay, what's the
Yeah, but-
project? Who do we go
But
for
change
now?
for the sake of change is not always good.
That's what I'm saying.
either,
Yeah, if you want change, you're saying
yeah,
the Italians. To be fair, the Italians I've spoken to, and the Football Retro Instagram story, the poll there, a lot of them want Mancini to stay. They don't see him as the problem.
They saw some of the players as the problem. They saw some of the arrogance that we were talking about. But Bonucci coming out and saying what he said after the game probably didn't endear him to the fans because they would have been quite rightfully so really upset with it. And it sounded terribly like sour grapes. So I don't think that was a good thing for him to say. And like I said, there were issues in this team that everyone was, you don't have any replacements for Bonucci and Chiellini. You don't have a number 9. And also, honestly, long-term, Verratti and Jorginho can't play together in the same midfield. Like, they're both deep-line playmakers.
Right.
They're not very physical. They're not a threat from outside the box from a goal-scoring perspective. So I don't think them two should be playing in long-term together anyway.
I would go so far as to say that Bonucci is racist and has a superiority complex because he feels that Italy should be able to qualify and one of the South American teams shouldn't. Which is racist.
Well, he will next World Cup when there's 48 teams. Tell him not to worry. Sit there.
He'll be retired. He won't make the squad then. At 38, no chance.
I've got a big statement coming. You're going to disagree with me,
Yeah.
Akram.
Argentina's going to win
I'm
the World
going
Cup.
to eat my words maybe in a few months or years. But right now, I believe Donnarumma's overrated.
He's almost kind of dipped a bit since the Euro win. I don't know. I just feel like he hasn't.
I feel like he's been, like, don't get me wrong, great keeper, but they're putting him in a place where he's talking of the greats of all time and like at a young age still.
For a keeper.
I think it's more media inflation than it is his reality.
Yeah.
You can
like-
have the last say. 'Cause obviously
didn't he
in
win?
Your head.
Didn't he
No.
win best keeper last?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paddy?
I agree in part with you. I also think it's a little unfair because he's still young. He's still for a goalkeeper. He's still got a good. How old is he now? 21,
23.
23. He would have close to 15 years.
Don't you, like
Easily.
most keepers start at this
Right.
age.
Yeah, he would have close
So-
to 15 years at a full career if he stays injury free and all that. A lot of pressure put on him. Yes, I think at the Euro he was great. I think since he's moved to PSG, it's just gone to shit for some reason. And whether it's the environment at PSG that's sort of affecting every player there, I don't know. Because no one seems to be performing at PSG, with the exception of Mbappe, because he's angling for a move. But everybody else seems to be struggling, and it's reflecting. Is he, for them to call him, the greatest keeper in the world and all this sort of stuff, put a bit of pressure on him. I don't think he's the greatest right now, form-wise. I think it's harsh to judge him, though, because it's still early. I'd judge him in 10 years when he's in his mid-30s. And I'd say, no, I don't think he was or he is, yes.
Fair.
To be honest, Johnny, I'm not going to disagree with you as much as you think I am, because I think it is.
You're agreeing with everyone today. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I don't think you disagree. I was just telling you my opinion.
No, you literally said, Akram, I know you're going to disagree.
That's true.
Did you?
Yeah.
Possibly.
Rewind the tape.
Possibly. Rewind the tape. No, the thing is that, I do think it's a fair statement, because he was anointed as, the next Buffon after Euro. And I think, at the time, the media are going to do what they do. Quite rightfully so. His performance at Euro was amazing, and the media are going to inflate. I was really disappointed that he left Milan to go to PSG, and I don't think that move's worked out for him. You can see the issues behind it. They already had a number one that was performing admirably in Keylor Navas. So, to me, his form has dipped quite considerably, and I think that's partially because of confidence. He's had to compete against what is he? 30? Keylor Navas is now what? 35.
35, 36.
36, a multi-Champions League winner.
Are you sure on that?
He's our age. Yeah.
He's got a photo of him in his bedroom.
Oh, he's
And you're 33, bro. So
which ID are you talking about? Which passport?
no.
He's got a few.
Yeah, he's in his mid-30s. Yeah.
3 or 4. Right?
Which you've got to feel sorry for Navas. Last 2 clubs, he's been number 1 and then gets pushed over.
In saying that,
got such a soft spot for him.
Navas.
He really does. He really does.
Always.
He's that part of that.
But the thing is that right, the person he competed with was Courtois, who was at the time, quite a professional with a lot of experience. Donnarumma now coming from Milan, who has had quite a humble few years, to then compete against someone who's a multi-Champions League winner, played for Real Madrid. He's in mid-30s. I do think that dynamics played a bit. I think he was promised a number 1 spot. That's why he went.
He had a big part to play at Milan, and he was a big part of their revival.
Yeah,
could have been a legend
towards
there.
the end. But then, as soon as it happened, then he angled for a move away for money and went. And now you're part of pretty much a Galacticos
side. Yeah,
side
toxic environment there,
which
Yeah.
is
Very
full
bad.
of egos and bullshit.
I don't know who fucks with your head as well, but Navas is paid more than Donnarumma. So I don't know if that's a psychological thing as
It's got to
well.
be an age thing.
No.
Either way, the point is I think none of that situation was good, and I think that's shown in his form. Whether I don't know if you thought at the end of Euro, Johnny, he was the best keeper in the world or not. I think, like Fatty said, he's still young. I think he can become the best goalkeeper in the world. I think he can reach massive heights. He's 6'5", 6", very, very fast and agile. He combines the best abilities of Casillas as well as Buffon. He just lacks that intelligence and that experience. Wait till another 5 or 6
I agree.
years.
That's what I say. I may be proven wrong in the near future, but right now the way he's spoken those is
Yeah.
2 quick things before we go. Poland through, betting Sweden 2-0.
Yeah.
Lewandowski going to the World Cup again.
Yeah.
3 things. Portugal doing the job with Macedonia as expected.
Yeah.
Or expected Italy to do. Portugal did it. Cristiano to the World Cup.
Yeah.
And the most underused and underappreciated player in Gareth Bale.
Yes. I was waiting for
Gareth
it.
Bale going to the World Cup.
Yeah. He always
When-
Wales, Golf, Madrid.
When he's
Yeah.
appreciated,
Golf,
when he's used properly, he steps up
Oh.
and
When
leads
he's
the team
used
to the
properly.
World
We can
Cup.
talk about this another time.
I just want to ask one thing. If you guys shit on him so much, right?
100%.
We don't.
I do.
Wow, this guy fucking Bale,
Yeah.
look what he does this shit for fucking Real Madrid.
100%.
But the guy gets on the pitch for Wales, all of a sudden, he's Superman. The guy's fucking picking in free kicks, top corner.
100%.
He's
He's
carrying
Superman.
the team.
Do you know
But
what it is? Dusty said it clearly. Toxic environment.
Oh,
They were the words that he used.
Perez.
There's 2 Bales. I
What's
remember. His
Perez
first
doing
5 years, and then the next 4, which have unfortunately
Yeah,
haven't
but
lived
you
up.
know what I think that is? Bale came and did everything. And he still
He
wasn't
did.
appreciated. So he said, fuck you.
No, wait,
No,
he's the
what
highest
did he
paid
do?
player in the team.
That's
He's the highest paid player in the team.
Yeah, he said, fuck you.
And regardless, at the end of the day,
Now
when
he's
Cristiano
giving
Ronaldo left,
Underappreciated. He's
Cristiano
been.
Ronaldo left, Real Madrid could have easily decided to move on from him. Florentino Perez anointed him and go, no, you're the next number
anointed
one
him.
guy, next
He
superstar. He
baptized him.
failed. He disappointed. He baptized him. He splashed that holy Real Madrid water on him, and
Sorry.
he failed to live up to that
2 more months and
expectation.
he's.
And I mean, like if he's Superman for Bale and all this stuff, then why do he rule himself out of the Classico for
Because
he
he's
ruled
giving,
himself out.
because he's
He
giving Real
ruled
Madrid a
himself
big
out.
fuck you, and the fans a big
okay.
fuck you because they treat him like shit. Because he
Please.
performed
Man.
for them, and they said, "Bro, he scored one of the greatest Champions League goals."
We don't
ever."
doubt that. We don't doubt his contribution.
Yes, you
honestly,
do.
Well,
You
we don't.
genuinely-
No,
you're
we,
like, "Oh, yeah, he
we
scored some
recognise what he
goals.
did in the first 5 years, but obviously his mentality, his approach has changed since that
Because
contract.
he got
extension.
treated like he got booed by his own fans. What do you want him to
Because
do?
that's everyone at Real Madrid, though.
Well, fuck you.
That's-
Fuck Real Madrid.
that's- you
Fuck
can
you.
handle it.
Real Madrid fans
you
boo
can't-
Cristiano, by the way.
But they're fucked.
If you can
They're
handle it, you
mercenaries.
can't handle it, then get out of the kitchen.
Well, this is new kitchen and performs every time.
Yeah, but that kitchen is a lot smaller and easier to play in.
Went to the World Cup, didn't he? Hazard's another one who's going to do in the World Cup. Watch him step up.
For Belgium.
Eden Hazard. When he's in a good environment, where he's appreciated,
Please.
he'll step up in the World Cup. And,
Henry will know how to get the best out of him.
on a positive, it's the first weekend in a long time that Real Madrid didn't get awarded a penalty or.
I think you mean
That's why they
Barcelona.
play.
On that note, a really fun episode.
That's feeling.
Really good.
Add some flames to his.
Don't feed the troll.
Traffic later.
Don't feed the troll. Mayor Quimby.
Is Perez okay before we go?
Yeah, I think so. He's fine.
Send in the fucking episode.
Sorry?
Send it to Real Madrid.
No, I will. See you next week, guys. Bye-bye.